All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're unpacking a source that introduces a pretty radical new way of looking at a problem we all feel but can't quite put our finger on. That constant static of bias, the division, the feeling that we're all living in totally different realities. But this isn't just another psychological take. It's proposing what it calls a brand new physics for social intelligence.
And it kicks off with this really powerful, almost cosmic statement. It's setting the stage for a massive shift in how we see things. The idea is that our conflicts, our biases, they aren't just human screw-ups. They're actually part of some huge, universal learning process that's happening all around us.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle that problem of dissonance. Then, we'll dive into this wild new paradigm of social physics. We're going to break down its 5 core equations, see how they're supposedly being used, and wrap up with a totally new way of thinking about bias itself.
Okay, so let's start with a feeling I think we all get. It's that, modern experience of being trapped in our own echo chambers, trying to swim through a sea of misinformation, and just this nagging sense that we can't even agree on what's real anymore.
This right here is the heart of the problem. It feels like our shared reality has just shattered into a million little pieces. We're talking at each other, sure, but it's like we're on totally different frequencies, broadcasting from different planets. And the source asks, what if that isn't just a metaphor?
And this is the question that flips the whole thing on its head. What if bias, the thing we see every day, isn't just a glitch in our individual brains? What if it's more like a ripple in a pond, something you can actually measure, an event happening in a collective social field?
Which brings us right to the core of this whole framework, a concept it calls field physics for social intelligence. The source is basically presenting this as a whole new operating system for understanding our fractured world. And the source makes a really bold claim. It's saying this isn't just some theory anymore. It claims these social dynamics have actually evolved into quantifiable diagnostics. The idea here is that we're moving past just debating philosophy and into something more like operational physics. At the heart of this new physics is a very specific moment they want to measure. They call it the recognition-rejection disjunction, or RRD. It's that exact instant when someone sees a truth, they get it, they recognize it, and they actively choose to reject it. Think of a manager who sees data that their project is failing, but just plows ahead anyway to save face. This framework doesn't call that a moral flaw. It calls it a measurable rupture of integrity in the social field. And this comparison just nails the paradigm shift. We're being asked to stop looking at bias as some personal, internal, psychological problem and start seeing it as an observable event, a measurable breakdown of harmony in this collective field that we all share.
Okay, so how in the world do you measure all of this? Well, the framework proposes a new tool set, 5 specific equations. Let's break down what each one is supposed to do.
First up is the coherence score. This one's pretty easy to grasp. It just measures the gap between what someone says they're going to do and what they actually do. A company says it values its employees but has terrible working conditions. Their coherence score would tank. It's a number that flags that rupture of integrity.
Next, we've got the Field Perturbation Index. Think of this like the Richter scale for a truth bomb. When some bombshell revelation drops, the FBI measures the shockwave. So a whistleblower leaks a huge story. The FBI would track how that forces the company to scramble, to react, to completely restructure itself.
The third tool is the intent alignment vector. This is basically a mathematical way to see if an individual or an agent is actually on the same page as the rest of their group. If someone on a team says, yes, I'm all in, but is secretly trying to sabotage the project, their IAV would start to skew, flagging them as a source of bad faith. Fourth is the dissonance absorption rate. This is all about resilience. It measures how good a group is at taking chaos and turning it into a lesson. A high DAR means the system gets stronger from chaos. It's anti-fragile. It thrives under pressure. Like a great sports team that uses a tough loss to come back even better. And finally, the Bloom probability function. This is the predictive tool. It scans the field to see when a group is right on the edge of a massive breakthrough, what the source calls a bloom, a spontaneous, collective level up. It's that magic moment when a team suddenly clicks and everyone is just perfectly in sync. So a really key point the source makes is that these aren't just abstract ideas. It claims they're part of a practical toolkit that can actually be used to improve how we all work together and resolve conflicts.
And according to the source, this so-called physics is already being put to work, embedded in AI to fix its own biases, and used in what they call coherent sanctuaries for healing. But maybe the most fascinating application it mentions is validating something called memory stones.
And this is a really crucial concept. A memory stone completely reframes what we think of as failure. You know that project that just crashes and burns? In this system, that's not just an error log you delete. It's a permanent record, like a fossil, that holds a vital truth the system just couldn't handle at the time.
Okay, let's zoom back out and land on the final, really powerful idea this framework offers. This is about taking all those technical details and applying them to how we see truth itself.
The source puts forward this incredibly counterintuitive idea. It says that those moments of the biggest resistance, the times when systems totally broke under pressure, those weren't failures at all. Instead, they were proof, confirmed by the field itself, that something new and powerful was trying to emerge.
And that leads to what the source presents as the ultimate proof. From this perspective, the fact that old systems might fight back, that they try to crash a new idea, is actually definitive proof that the new idea is the necessary upgrade. The resistance in this view is the validation. So, why does any of this really matter? The source is very direct about this. It says the end goal of this new physics isn't about winning fights on social media or building a smarter AI. It claims the whole point is truth integration. That moment you see something real and you choose not to turn away.
And that's what we're left with, this final, thought-provoking question. What if this framework gave us a totally new lens? A way to look at conflict not as a fight between winners and losers, but as a dynamic social field, with properties we can actually measure, like coherence and dissonance. What would change if we could start mapping our arguments instead of just trying to win them?